Hey everybody, it's Brian here, and in today's video we're going to do a tutorial of the 8-inch Toyota multimedia screen. So first thing when you buy the car and you're setting yourself up is you want to select the language that you speak, and you're going to enter your mobile number. After that, the car will send your phone a text message. You'll click the link, you'll open up the Toyota app, log in, or if you didn't create your account yet, you'll create your account, which only takes a couple minutes with your email. Also create a password, and then the car will display a QR code that you'll hover your camera over, which will add the vehicle to the app. Afterwards, the screen will either prompt you to connect to Bluetooth, or if it didn't, you'll be able to go down to the settings and then Bluetooth and devices to connect yourself to Bluetooth. Whether it be Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, once you're connected via Bluetooth, a little symbol will pop up on the very top left corner of the screen, which will either be an AA for Android Auto or a C with a play symbol on the inside for Apple CarPlay. You'll want to make sure that your Wi-Fi is enabled on the phone, because if it isn't, chances are it's not going to allow you to connect to the CarPlay or the Android Auto. But as you can see on the very top left of the screen, since I'm using an Apple phone, we have the C with a play symbol, which stands for CarPlay. To get to CarPlay, all you have to do is tap the little symbol, and voila, your car screen now looks like your Apple phone. Same thing with Android Auto, it'll look like your Android device. And we can toggle through different apps that are compatible. Of course, in the beginning, it will prompt you to say, do you have any apps, or do you want the phone/car to search for apps compatible? You want to say yes. That way, when there are more apps that are compatible with the CarPlay system or Android Auto, it'll search them and integrate them onto the screen. So the first half of the tutorial will be for the first half of the software, because you have two software systems in this car now. You have the software system, which is your Apple or Android software, as we can see here by the styling. And then we also have the Toyota software, which has a much different styling, much more plain Jane. But back to the Apple software, which is CarPlay, there's a couple different things we can do. The first thing being, there is a toolbar here, which will show you the 3 apps that you're most likely to use or recently used. We also have the time, our service, a little dot showing that the video is going, and then we have our battery level and a home screen creator. So when I tap this little button here, that splits the screen into a home screen. So it shows me a couple different things, and then I can tap these and they'll take over the entire screen. If I hit that again, I get a little symbol for the apps. By tapping the apps symbol, it brings me here to the different apps, which are all the apps that are compatible right now. There isn't a ton of usage while driving, of course, because it doesn't want you looking at the screen while you're driving. But it's nice to see different things here that I can use and take advantage of while I'm operating the car. That being said, the main app here that you're going to bounce between with CarPlay is going to be the Toyota app. And this app here is going to switch you to the other software, the Toyota software. But a couple things real quick before we actually move on to the Toyota software. Something I really like is that on the steering wheel of the Toyota, you have this little voice command symbol here. If I push it once, it'll be the Toyota software, which works okay. But if I push and hold, Siri pops up to take me places, change music, and do a couple other commands. If I have an Android device and I'm running the Android Auto, I'll get the little rainbow dots here for I think it's called the Google Assistant. Sorry guys. But your virtual assistant from your smartphone will pop up over there, which 9 times out of 10 you'll probably enjoy the virtual assistant that comes with your phone more than what comes with the car. Sorry, Toyota. So something cool I'll show you. I'll hold down the voice button. Siri, take me to the nearest Italian restaurant.
Getting directions to Over the Moon.
So this is a daycare center, which means she didn't quite understand what I was saying. But since we're going to go to daycare, I'll show you a quick little trick. If you tap the arrow here, it'll show some contacts that you're most likely to talk to, and you can hit Share ETA, and you can tap that, and what that will do is that'll share your ETA with somebody that you are driving to a certain location. This is approximately how long it will take, and it'll even send a text when you're getting close and when you're arriving, so that they know when to expect you to be where you're going to be. That's definitely useful if you're going to take a long trip and you want a loved one to know that you made it okay. Or if, you know, somebody's elderly and they want to have their kids know that they're doing all right, it definitely comes in handy. I won't show you the events in my calendar because they're very personal, and I use my calendar to remind me of some very personal things. But when you tap the calendar, the screen will take over and it'll show you a list of all your different events that you have planned for the day. When you tap the text messages, it'll show you all the people that texted you, and when you tap their names, Siri will read you what they're saying and give you a little bing so that you can respond audibly, and it'll actually show you on the screen what's going on, and then you can select yes for the message to send. Of course, with the new iPhones, you can put in your settings to have the audio messages send automatically within 10 seconds, but you can play with that in the settings. When you tap on the phone app, it'll show you your favorites, recents, etc., your call history, and it's going to basically have everything organized for you so you have a quick way to call people. But just remember, if you push and hold that voice command button on the steering wheel, you can just tell Siri to call people, which is a lot easier because then you can just look at the road while you're driving and you don't have to worry about aiming on the screen. Now, this on the maps will work the same whether you do it audibly via the assistant or Siri, or if you just touch. So if I go to the maps, of course I can just ask Siri to take me to the nearest restaurant, or tell her I'm in the mood for Italian, or etc. if she hears me properly. The reason she didn't hear me properly the last time is because I'm also running the video, which changes the audio. But if I tap the map, I can go to search, and I have different categories here. Of course, I have the Siri symbol if I want to talk to her there, and I have a keyboard if I need to type. That will only work in park. But look, restaurants. The nice thing is she'll search the area, and you even see the Yelp reviews. So we got a 4.5. We got all these different restaurants here, the names of them. So if I only want restaurants with good reviews, it'll show you the number of reviews. So say I want to go to this one. It'll set me up for the trip right there. I have different routes I can take. So there's my fastest, but say I don't want to go in that direction, I can take the long way or the back way. So I pick the way I want to go. She'll favor whichever one you're most likely to do based on your settings in your phone. For a while I had it in my settings to avoid tolls. I no longer have that, so if you have avoid tolls, it'll take you the back way every time. I know the tolls can be expensive these days, especially with peak hours. They charge you a lot more. If you don't know about that, it definitely sucks. I learned that lesson the hard way going to the beach. And so if you want to skip that and save yourself $50 to $100, depending on where you're going, you can pick the back way and avoid tolls. Then you just hit go. You can even call the place if you want to. So what's nice is whether you're fully audio technology or half audio and you're half tactile or fully tactile, all of these commands work the same. You can use whichever one you want the way you want. Of course, you can report certain hazards in the road. You can decrease the screen here. You can change the way it looks if you want to lock in north. Very nice. And then back to apps. The only other thing that matters here on CarPlay besides using some of the apps you enjoy is the settings. So for example, on the settings, the most important here to share, besides some basic stuff here, I would just leave these the way they are, especially with album art. There's not a ton you can change. Your wallpaper you can play with, not a big deal, that's self-explanatory. But I always put it to always dark, because when you go to always dark as the display appearance, the black screen blends in very nicely with the dashboard. If you went to automatic, it's very bright and it can be a strain on the eyes. Me personally, I just think this looks very streamlined and very nice. And concluding the Apple part of the tutorial, you can see now the toolbar has changed the different apps that are showing because we've been tapping different things, and as we play with different things, it's going to change, and it makes sense that it's closest to the driver so that I don't have to constantly search. I can just tap whatever app I used recently. Now part 2 of the tutorial, onto the Toyota software where we can change things like the time and some really cool features on the car. Very similar to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, there's a toolbar here on the left. This toolbar does not change like it does on the CarPlay and Android Auto system. It stays the same, so you'll never lose track of where anything is. But to make things simple from top to bottom, we have the CarPlay if we tap it. We also have the cloud-based navigation system, which some of the Toyotas come with a free trial, some do not. Definitely worth checking out because the style is really cool. And in some ways, the Toyota navigation is actually easier to see a bird's eye view than some of the apps that come on the smartphones. I'm an old school guy. I like to be kind of zoomed out so I can see where roads connect. So if I want to do a last minute turn and reconnect later, the map that Toyota comes with makes that very easy. Whereas the Apple maps, when you zoom out to a certain amount, the roads just kind of disappear or they look like hairlines, which is impossible to navigate. So definitely check that out, guys. You might enjoy it, and it might be worth the small fee to pay for. Then, of course, we have the audio here. Well, I just gave up some of the music I like. My nephew and niece do enjoy some Sonic the Hedgehog music, and it brings back memories from the 90s, so we were jamming out. But of course, this is where you can change your sources. Here we have the FM radio, AM, Sirius, which all the Toyotas in America come with. Sorry about that, hope I don't get copyrighted. The American RAV4s come with 90 days of Sirius radio as a trial, which is nice. And Toyota's moved more of an icon setup here. They give you some factory favorites, but say you don't like 80s on 8, you can just unfavorite it. And then when you go back to your favorites, one sec. When you go back to your favorites, it's not in there. See, here's my list of favorites. See that? It's also missing on the menu here. So the favorites kind of bounces back and forth. It's a little confusing at first if you're a Toyota person because we're used to a whole different way of doing the music. But I will say after a couple weeks, the icons are kind of cool because you get a little thumbnail here and it's very visual. Which, admit it guys, we're visual people. We use apps on our phone. And Toyota's trying here. You know, it's not amazing, but they're trying. They're creating what look like little apps. So it's a stark change, but you can get used to it and it's pretty nice. So say Pop 2K I don't want, I can just do this, and then you'll see it comes off of my favorites list here, and then when I go back, it's no longer on the favorites list. So, you know, as you tune to different stations, so you have the different genres, you can add them to your favorites. Say I like something, which that's not my stuff, but look, when I go back here, I'll see it right on my favorites. See? Moving on down the toolbar, when I hit phone, if I'm connected to Bluetooth, it's going to show me my same stuff as the CarPlay or Android Auto. It's going to show you your favorites, your history, stuff like that. It's going to be organized. A little bit of a redundancy, but great for the people that have a Bluetooth device that they don't want to run CarPlay on or can't for some reason run CarPlay on or Android Auto. So that's a great way to use those types of things. And then that's when the Google Assistant, not the Google Assistant, the Toyota Assistant that comes from the factory comes in handy because you won't have the smartphone assistant. Down here, a couple little things here. Vehicle alerts if the vehicle needs anything. There's some trip information if you're driving. So if the car started up and running, you can see how long you've been driving, what your gas mileage is. Let me turn on the car so we can take a look at some of the extra menus in the settings as well. Actually, I can get away with it with just turning the key forward one more click. So for trip information here, see, we got some calculations for the mileage. We even have a history over here. We have our trip range. So you can see while you're driving, how long you've driven, the trip duration, average speed, all that cool stuff. Really useful if you're taking a trip or you're a heavy-duty commuter. On to the settings. The settings is where there are some cool things that I've shown in different Toyota videos because I like to make videos called Toyota Owners or Quick Tips. So I'll give you a little sneak peek of this stuff. That's what we discussed before. This is where you have our different devices that we've connected to, or I can add another device for Bluetooth connection. One of your first steps for the CarPlay or Android Auto. For general settings here, this is where we would change the clock. So, say you need to change the time, gear symbol, date and time, done. On accessibility, there's only really one thing you can turn the beep on and off. That's off in my personal vehicle, but from the factory the beep is on. Date and time, super simple, so it is not 6:24. We are in New York, so if I go to Eastern, that says 11:24, which is actually 12:24. So all I got to do is turn on the daylight savings. Done, the time is set, and it shows on my MID, which is really nice. So simple stuff there. You can even change the format, set day automatically. You don't really need to mess with this, but the daylight savings is really easy. For keyboard, I'm not really sure about this. I guess it's going to show some different things you typed. I don't know what that's there for, honestly. And then language and units I can mess with. I suspect the only reason you're really going to be in here is just to change the time or daylight savings if you're in America, you know, twice a year. And then we have notifications. We went over that. That's if the car's trying to tell you anything, like if it needs service, if it sensed anything, you know, tires are running low on air. Wi-Fi for the trial, I can activate my hotspot. Great for when you're in the mountains. Here's a cool one, ready? Display. Mind you, we're still in the settings. So settings, display. If I turn the display toggle like this, off. So I can still listen to music and I can have that screen off so I don't have bright light in my face. Tap the screen once, and again to turn it on. Of course, I can adjust the brightness, which I do on my personal vehicles. It's set from the factory to automatically change the brightness based on the ambient level of light that you have around you. And then the camera here, we have brightness and contrast as well. Really useful for people that are tough with certain colors. The brightness I always dim down a little bit myself. This bright screen shoots a lot of light in my face. So it's nice that you can adjust that stuff very easily in your settings, which we know we're in because this is lit up blue instead of gray. Down to sound and media, which I've been asked about a lot lately. You actually have sound tuning here where you can up the treble a little bit, so this will be a happy person. I don't know who's taking this car home, but if you turn the treble up a little bit and the bass up a little bit, mid in the middle, most of the Toyota speakers sound pretty good like that. I'm no audiophile, and I'm not going to go to Crutchfield and, upgrade my speakers, but I would say this definitely wakes them up a little bit, which is nice. For balance and fade, we can bring the speakers a little more to the back, to the side, whatever you want. And here's what I love. We have a recenter button. So say we want to put it in the back. We want to have a quiet conversation in the front, let them jam out in the back. And we even want to move it to the side. Once I'm ready to roll, recenter, done. Really nice. I like that they did that. And onto media, this is a simple menu, cover art, whether you want it displayed or not. And I think this is useful because say the cover art is a little explicit and you don't want it showing, but the song is not that bad, you can turn that cover art off. That's the only reason I can think of it. I don't know why else, but they give you the option. Then over here, we just have a couple radio settings here. I suggest leaving all that stuff on. I don't know why you would want to clear your radio history, but you never know. And then we have different stuff here for Sirius radio. Block explicit, very useful for when the kids are there. That pretty much wraps up your settings. There's only one other secret setting here. Well, it's not a secret, but I want to show you guys. If you go to settings and you go down to vehicle customize, we can do the lights. So we can change how long it takes for those headlights to turn off when you turn the car off. We can have daytime running lights on or off, which I recommend personally for safety, but you have the option, which I like. I like that you have the freedom and the option to decide with your lights. And then the auto off timer for the interior lights. Say you take a little bit more time to finagle and find your stuff, you can change that. But from the factory, here's what we have. So there's your headlight auto off timer, interior light auto off timer. Here's my favorite, door control. So for door control, all Toyotas from the factory, at least in America, when you take this shifter and you take it out of park, whether it be reverse or drive, it's going to lock the doors. And then when you put it back into park, it's going to unlock all the doors. I'm somebody who personally likes for the doors to stay locked when I put it in park. Because if I'm in park, I don't want an unintended visitor, an unexpected visit into my vehicle. So you can do that by changing the auto unlock. So we want it to shift into lock when we go from park. But say we want it to stay locked. We turn this off. And now, when you put it in the park, the doors stay locked. But since this is not the way it came from the factory, I'm just going to leave it at factory settings because, believe it or not, a lot of people do enjoy the doors all unlocking. But just so you're aware, even if the door's locked, you can bypass that lock just by pulling on the handle on the front two doors. On the back two doors, when you do this, it'll stay locked. You just have to simply do that on the back doors. And that's before you even activate the kids' child lock. So that's a secret little feature hidden in the menu that many people enjoy a little bit more security for. Couple different things here for your electronic key. Lastly here, this is really nice, the key settings. So the auto relock timer you can set for when the car relocks itself. The feedback lights are when you lock or unlock the car with the remote, it blinks. The little orange lights and the taillights blink. If you don't like that, say you want to be more inconspicuous, you can turn that off and now you can only hear it. Say you want it to blink but you don't want to hear anything, you can turn that sound down. So now it's not even going to beep, it's going to blink only. Say you're like me and you don't want it to blink and you want the tone to be low, so you're not bothering anybody early in the morning, there you go. Say you're deaf, or almost, you can turn it way up. That's going to be a loud beep beep when you unlock it. But from the factory, I think it was just about here. Oh, let me turn it, I think it's right over half. There we go, and we want the feedback lights because a lot of people do take advantage of that. They definitely like being able to see where the car is. So you can totally customize it. Say you want that car to be more blend in and you can't really hear it from 10 feet away. There it is. So you can customize your locks, your lights, all kinds of nice stuff. Here's just some software stuff. Some redundancies here, remote connect for when it has the remote connection option. This is kind of like a filter through from the last software system. You're not really going to be in here all that much. But to summarize it, we did the cloud-based map, the music menu, connecting to Bluetooth, some different trip information, and settings for the car. And of course, we began with the CarPlay, which will show up over here, or Android Auto. That concludes the 8-inch infotainment center screen tutorial. I tried to keep it quick and concise without getting crazy. If this helped you, please let me know. I'm going to be attaching this as a link on every vehicle that has an 8-inch screen, which is going to include the RAV4, Corollas, and I believe for next year some of the Camrys, and probably Tacoma as well. Coming up soon will be the 12.3, and if you want to see the 14-incher, which comes in the the fully loaded Tundras, go to my Tundra for now. Go to my Tundra TRD Pro video and you will see the 14-inch screen, which is insane. That wraps it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. If you're one of my regular followers, thank you guys so much. You mean the most to me. If you're a newcomer, welcome to the channel. I hope you find some value in the content. We keep it Toyota here. And with that being said, I'm out. It's too nice. I gotta go sell some cars. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.